This week on the podcast, it's getting to know you a little better, Carrie style. That's right. Carrie's in charge of this episode. She's got all the questions, and you're getting to know us just a little bit more. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. Hi, I'm Francine.
And I'm Carrie.
We're two best friends who can't stop talking, usually about Disney stuff.
Sometimes we have fascinating guests, and sometimes it's just us. But it's always positive and fun.
We're happy to have you join our chat. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
How are you?
Just peachy.
We just start recording, and I live close to a fire station, so I don't know if it ever comes up in the podcast, but of course, as soon as I start recording, I can hear a fire engine. Yeah.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything. Okay, that's good. That's good. What's shaking?
Nothing.
Nothing? Nothing at all?
Nope.
Nope. We decided to do do we call it a sequel to our other, what are we calling this? How are we setting this up? This was your idea, by the way. I actually want to go on record that this was Carrie's idea.
Right. I was inspired from other podcasts I listen to where they do getting to know you questions, or they do Q&A from guests, but I listened to one that they kind of did getting to know you back and forth questions, which we've done once or twice.
Right.
Before. So I just thought,
but
maybe
these
it's
are
time
different.
to do it again, because it's been a while. It's been probably a few months for sure.
I did because remember I did suggest a different kind of, it was questions, but not about you, but it's kind of you had to decide things. Would you rather never be kissed again or be cold all the time?
Yeah.
And I stole those from, there's a podcast that I listen to. It's three of the actors from Coronation Street have a podcast. Oh my gosh. They're just funny. But yeah, I like the idea of the getting to know you.
Good.
But here's the thing. So you're like, yeah, I sent you some of the questions on the weekend. I did. I don't know if I looked at them. And if I did, I've forgotten. Because I don't even remember what I did this morning. So.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So they could be a bit of a surprise, but I mean, if they're about me, it's not like I have to do research.
No, they're just things. I just was trying to think of different questions that, maybe stuff we haven't talked about, or.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. This will be fun.
So you're ready?
I'm ready. Take it away, Carrie. You're in charge this episode.
Great.
You're in charge.
Great. Okay. What was your favorite toy as a child?
Well, it depends how old, I guess.
You're just
when you said that, my favorite thing was my Cookie Monster that I used to sleep with.
And that's a stuffy.
It's a stuff. I mean, over the years, he became just really a blue beanbag, but because he had the two eyeballs on top, the plastic eyeballs. But of course, I lost those or whatever. He's just a blue beanbag now. He's in my crawl space. I have him somewhere. But yeah, he's the one I lost at the Contemporary.
Right, and he got shipped home.
They mailed back to me. Yeah.
But
so
what about a toy?
What
about a toy to play with? What did you like? What a toy? Was there or? Nothing? Yeah.
My dollhouse or
Barbies and stuff?
I had a Barbie Winnebago. That's where my love of Winnebagos come from. She had a full Winnebago with the kitchen and the dining room table and the little bathroom and a bed. And the roof popped up so you could play.
Yeah,
with your Barbies. Remember that? Yeah. That's where my Winnebago comes from.
I had some Barbies. I didn't really have a lot of Barbie stuff. My friend across the street had Barbie everything, so you went to her house to play Barbies.
And what did Barbie do that in your adventures?
I don't know. I didn't really like playing with them. I don't really have too many memories. I think I just maybe dressing them up and fixing their hair. Maybe, I don't know. I was more into like playing store and stuff. Like I've once an administrative professional, always an administrative professional. I like to pretend stamp things. I like to fill out forms. You're kidding. I like to play store. That was probably my favorite thing that I remember liking to play.
See, we would have been friends because I like to play store and office. I had an office and I was a secretary and I would take notes and fill out forms. Like, you remember the bank forms that had the copy so that you had two, like you wrote something and then it went through onto the...
Or the banks, like when you had to do a deposit, you had to fill in the slip. So when you go to the bank, you take a couple of them so that you could have them for your little office at home. Yeah, so I liked... But like, yeah, I guess there'd be so many toys. Like you'd have to really probably think about, during the different times what toys you loved the most. But
so what was yours? So if you think of a toy,
yeah, it's hard to think. Like it's hard to think of a toy. I know. Well, I was asking you the questions though.
Oh, you were just gonna ask me the questions? We weren't gonna get to know you?
I had one of those light boards where you could draw on them, like the Mickey Mouse light boards where you could trace stuff, like you know what I mean? Like, did you have one of those?
Yeah.
I like them. I liked Light Bright a lot because that was fun. Anything. that
Light
was kind
Bright
of,
was fun.
I think I liked things that were kind of arts and craftsy all along too. Like just stuff to, spirograph, all those things. Anything that was kind of artsy and office supply. But I don't know. I guess it's so I'm sure maybe our generation didn't have too many things. Like if you went a little bit, we didn't have Ninja Turtles or Super Mario Brothers and all that stuff. So
yeah, when you think about it, like that was...
We played a lot of games. Like we would have had lots of games.
Yes.
Right? There would have been lots of board games.
Othello. I've had that in my head ever since you brought it up.
What about, like...
Monopoly.
Sorry. There was lots of games that we would
Crazy Eights. We played a lot of card games when I was a kid. Like, my dad loved cribbage. We used to play cribbage a lot. Yeah.
Did you have a Cabbage Patch doll? I would think a lot of people that were our age would probably say something like that. Like I had one because like everyone had one, but I really like I know I have. If you look back in our pictures, I have like photos of it because I used to do photo shoots with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I wasn't too everyone had to have one, but it wasn't
I had one because everyone had to have, like, it was, you're right, everybody had to have one, but it wasn't, like, the top of my list for things that I wanted.
One of my favorite things I have from when I was younger, though, I have an old sticker collection. I like playing with stickers, too. Surprise, surprise. Anyways. So we really didn't have any favorite toys. We just liked everything.
Not really. Like everything. Boring. Oh, I used to have a little harness with like guns. And I like like a cowboy.
Pew pew.
Yeah. Okay.
What about keeping it old school? What about your favorite Saturday morning cartoon?
Oh, the Pink Panther.
Oh, cool.
Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Yeah. That was my dad and I, every Saturday morning, we'd get up and watch the Pink Panther.
Cool.
That was our favorite. What was yours?
Well, I think I'm going to say the Muppet Babies.
Oh, my gosh.
I love that.
Wait. Qualify the age. When we said, like, you said your favorite Saturday morning cartoon, I'm thinking when I was 6 or something like that, 6 or 7, I would get up and watch the Pink Panther.
Well, when I was little,
Muppet
probably
Babies.
the Care Bears. Care Bears. I love the Care Bears. I love the Smurfs. Oh my goodness. No. Hands down Smurfs. Smurfs and Muppet Babies.
Wait, see, this is where when you were saying that, we are only a few years difference in age, but it's like decades when we talk about this stuff. Like the Pink Panther was like old school, like you could almost see
it was old.
where the pages flipped, like when they were making the cartoon. Like it was so rudimentary.
I like that one.
But the
like
Smurfs.
Oh my goodness, they were everything.
Papa Smurf and what was her
Smurfette.
name? Smurfette.
Yeah.
I was going to say Mama Smurf.
Not Mama Smurf. Smurfette.
I was too old for the Smurfs. Like, I had grown out of cartoons by the time the Smurfs and the Care Bears came along.
They were good, and the Care Bears were good. So, yeah, those. If I had to choose, it would still be the Smurfs. So.
What about the Flintstones? They were my favorite.
Love them.
Like, my Monday to Friday at lunch from school, when I would come home from school at lunch, I would watch the Flintstones and the Jetsons.
Yeah, me too. I watched them every time they were on. If they were on at breakfast, before school, and at lunch, I watched them.
They were so good.
Love them. And the Jetsons. For sure.
We kind of live in the era of the Jetsons now. Mm-hmm. Video calls. Isn't it funny when you look at stuff like that, at what they dreamt and it was so far out and you were like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? And now you and I are recording this podcast exactly how the Jetsons used to have these little TVs and talk to each other, and it's kind of funny when you think about it.
Should watch some of those episodes of the Jetsons.
You know, it's fun to go back and watch old TV and see. FYI, the other night I was watching The Love Boat.
Oh yeah, The
Love Boat. It was Suzanne Summers on The Love Boat. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
And oh my gosh, you can't watch. But in this day and age, oh my gosh, it's so unbelievably politically incorrect and hysterical. Everything was and hysterical. Yeah, like Doc and okay. Anyway, go on. Okay, so wait, So we got yours, the Smurfs and the Care Bears,
and the Pink Panther for you,
and the Pink Panther. And the Flintstones, everybody loved.
Everybody loved the Flintstones.
Everybody loved the Flintstones.
Yabba, dabba,
dabba,
do. But I was a total TV Ontario nerd kid. I love everything that was on TV Ontario. Every single thing. Loved it. Every TV Ontario show. Polka Dot Door, Today's Special, the Green Forest came on right afterwards. So Andrew watched all those, so I watched them with him, but I was older for them, like the Polkaroo. Oh my god, he used to love Polkaroo. But what was the kid with the dog? The kid with the dog, and he had a dog. On TV Ontario?
Yeah, it was some stupid I can't remember. And Andrew's probably yelling at the podcast right now saying
Clifford and the Big Red Dog?
No.
Or Clifford is the Big Red Dog?
It was a boy and his dog. I can't remember. It was always on at dinner time after Polkaroo.
Yeah, that might have been after me then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember they used to play Doctor Who. So this was always at dinner time, and then after the dinner time shows that were family friendly, they turned on Doctor Who, and as soon as you heard the sound, I would run and turn the TV off because I was afraid of it, and I don't think I ever watched an episode till I was an adult. Anyways, enough of that stuff.
Belle and Sebastian, that was their names.
I don't remember that.
No, you'll have to go back and look. It was a horrible show, but
no, I think that
Andrew loved it
after me. But there was lots of other awesome shows on TV Ontario. Sometimes I watch them on YouTube, and they bring me just as much joy
for
as they
people
did back then.
who are not like TV Ontario kids. You can go to YouTube and take a look at some of these shows that Carrie's talking about. And let us know if these were similar kinds of shows you would have watched.
Sometimes I listen. Sometimes I watch the French one, Télé Français, and it had the pineapple, la na na. Do you remember that one? Télé Français, Télé Français.
No, I don't.
And it had a talking pineapple.
No.
The best.
I don't remember the.
There's nothing
pineapple
that will ever replace the awesomeness of TV Ontario. During the 1970s and 80s, that's for sure. Oh my gosh. Okay, next question. Right. What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be... Yeah. So, well, it depends.
Now.
As a kid, well, it depends what age I was. So I went through a phase where I was going to be a dolphin trainer.
I knew this was going to be a good one.
It was going to be a dolphin trainer. I was going to be Wonder Woman's like sidekick. But then I really settled into I wanted to be a police officer.
Oh, wow.
Maybe that's why I like Judy Hopps so much.
Maybe.
I wanted to be a police officer. Then there was a phase where all I wanted to do was be like, I wanted to just be a mom. And then I wanted to be a social worker. And then lots of things. And then I wanted to own a video store.
Right.
VHS tapes. It's funny. My sister and I drove past there the other day where the video store was that I wanted to buy. And yeah, it's all boarded up. But it's kind of funny. I drove by it the other. Thank goodness it didn't work out because where it was and where it is now, it would not have been a good place to open a business. What about you?
I wanted to be a teacher. That's it. That's all. From
nothing
kindergarten all the way through to whatever. Yep, always wanted to be a teacher.
Why didn't you?
I
I know why I'm not a dolphin trainer, but why are you?
Well, I didn't be a teacher. Well, when I went to college and then I went to university with the intention of becoming a teacher, going to teachers college, and some of my friends have had, because I graduated high school, I worked a year, then I went to college for a couple of years, and then I worked for a year, then I went to university for a couple more years. By the time I got to the end of university, I had a number of friends that were already teachers. If you want to be honest, is why I didn't carry on.
Wow.
That I decided I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather, I wanted to work in the arts or something like that was what I really
You wanted to be an art teacher though, right?
I would is
that what you were thinking? I'll become an art teacher?
I didn't really.
You would have taught English, math?
Whatever, yeah, not math. No math, maybe a language or art or just the little kids. I don't know. I never really thought about it, had a desire that I had to be a teacher of something. I wanted to teach something artsy, if I could in the end.
You would have been a good teacher.
I don't think so, but but it was something how you have those books where from kindergarten and every year there's a pocket and you put whatever. Yeah. If you look at mine, the entire time it always says teacher. From when I was in kindergarten to whenever as long as I filled out those pages, it always said a teacher. Wow. So I think I loved my teachers. I think that's part of the reason why, I loved school. I volunteered when I got older with the teachers and in the library and whatever. I think I really loved school and learning, and I loved the teachers. I thought they were awesome and cool. So I probably wanted to do what they do. I don't know.
I never wanted to do that. Oh, I wanted to be a Highland dancer at one point.
Oh my goodness.
Carrie, I had every year I had something different I wanted to be. Up until I was probably a teenager. Yeah.
That's interesting. I knew that you would have a few different career aspirations.
I was so upset when we came home from Florida because it was at SeaWorld when I decided I was going to become a dolphin trainer. So when we got home, I told my dad he had to buy me a dolphin. And he's we had this huge fight. I'll never forget it. And he was like, where are we putting this dolphin? And I'm like, we can build a tank in the backyard. And he's like, what happens in the winter? when it all freezes and the dolphin is frozen in the backyard.
What did you say to that? Do you remember?
I said that we'd heat it. We'd heat the pool so that my dolphin would be okay. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And funny, I don't like to swim in the ocean because there's fish in it.
You're going to be a dolphin trainer at SeaWorld.
Yep.
Wow.
But I don't like to go in the ocean because there's fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to either. I don't want to swim with the dolphins either. No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
No way, Jose. I'll watch. I'll be the one holding the camera.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
okay. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I don't think there's any other like craziness. Although I can tell you that there's probably like somebody in my family's going to reach out and be like, I can't believe you forgot about when you wanted to blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I'm a bit of a dreamer.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good. It's better than just wanting to be a teacher and then not becoming a teacher.
Well, you were smart. You talked to your friends and decided, nope, not for me.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. What was your first car?
My first car was a Nissan Pulsar.
That would have been a little sporty, wasn't it?
It was a little sporty, and it's only because my sister Jean, that was her first car, and she was getting a new car when she got engaged, and she moved in with her fiance at the time, and they were getting a new car, so she sold me hers. So
wow, what color was it?
It was silver. And it had a sunroof. It was pretty sporty. It was tiny. Yeah. And I remember she sold it to me for $1,000 and I paid her $100 a month.
Wow.
For 10 months.
Till it was paid in full.
Until it was paid in full. At that time I was working at the shoe store, so I paid her $100 a month until it was paid off.
And it worked okay? Like there wasn't any funny stories about it? Like it was just
No, I mean it was a really good car. I loved that car. I love that car. My dad used to drive it all the time too. So, although he looked kind of stupid in it because he was a big man and it was a little car, but,
yeah, I think I remember it being like kind of like a short and like small, like.
Yeah, it was like a short little tiny car. What was yours?
I had a Chevette.
Ooh.
A little gray Chevette. And I really loved at a certain point in my life, Corvettes. Like so I knew lots about them or whatever. So I think I might have had, like I would never ever get a Corvette, but I'd like to still have a little bit of fun. So I called my car Mario Chevetti. It was a gray Chevette, like not nothing too fancy about it. That I couldn't have my dream car. Although I still think if I won the lottery, I'd probably buy a sweet ride, a brand new Corvette. Yeah, but I wouldn't do it with any money that I've earned because I don't want one anymore. But if I ever, won some money, I might.
If you had found money, you would splurge on a
lots
car.
of found money because otherwise I wouldn't. I'd buy myself a nice new Volvo or something. But if I spent my money reasonably, I would do one thing. But if it was free money or lots of money, I would probably just buy it so I could say that I owned a Corvette. Even though I think maybe they're not so cool anymore. Like they would have been in like the late 80s when I loved them. But
isn't that like a Knight Rider car or something?
No. But anyways, yeah. It was a Chevette, and you don't see very many of them around. Just like your Nissan Pulsar, I don't think you see very. If you see a Chevette driving around, it's almost like winning the lotto. There's very, very few of them. So
yeah, that's kind of funny to think back.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Chevette back then was like you would see any type of car you see now, right? Like they were everywhere.
They were everywhere then.
They were pretty common cars that people had, cheap cars.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, Mario Chevetti here.
So you named your car? I've never named my cars.
Yeah.
Do you have like your car now? Does it have a name?
Yeah, her name's Beastie.
Her name is Beastie?
Beastie, yeah. From
what?
Maleficent. So when I got my car was when my car's I've had my car for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I called her, like from the movie Maleficent, I call her Beastie because that's what she called the little girl, right? She called her my Beastie or something like that. So then I called my car Beastie.
Oh, and you're talking about Maleficent, the movie with Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I called my car Beastie. And then before that, I've only ever had, how many cars have I owned? I've owned Mario Chevetti. And then I never really had lots of cars. I think the next car I actually owned again, because it was just my mom had an old her old car. She gave it to me, and I called it Rusty. But Rusty with an I, because she's a girl. So when I tell people her name was Rusty, I'd say Rusty with an I, not Rusty with a Y.
Oh my god.
So Mario Chevetti, Rusty with an I, and now I've got Beastie.
Oh my god. Rusty with an I.
She was a girl.
Oh my gosh.
I think people maybe people don't name their cars anymore, but I do.
I would never know what to. I'm not that creative to come up with a name for my car, like Rusty with an I.
Like Rusty drove a long time, and I just and then she was mine, and she kept driving, and you just have a bit of a connection with her. That's why you got to give her a name. And Beastie, that was my first time I bought a fairly new car. She was only a couple years old. So I just thought, she was my Beastie. She was just, I was so excited to have this new car. I thought she was a beautiful car, and I loved her. So I called her Beastie.
Aww.
So it's kind of like my cat Prince Charming. It was when
Once Upon a Time
came out, and that's why I named him. His name is Prince Charming, is his full name, but I call him Charming because I was so crazy about that show that
that was such a good show. The first couple seasons were really good, and then it was they jumped the shark.
It was all good till the very last season, because even the second, as they kind of got more into the stories. And you were at first you're this is a little far-fetched, they brought Elsa and Anna in, and you're okay, come on, do we really have to go there? And then it was kind of over that, and then they did more things, but you were so far in deep and loving the show so much, there was really not much they could do till that last season. I know people that were crazy about it like me that didn't even watch the last season, because
I didn't watch last season.
I think I watched it just to watch it because I had invested. I named my cat after one of the characters, for goodness
to go all in.
but generally, I think that the last season wasn't the greatest, but yeah, they were smart. They knew how to hook, line, and sinker us with that one.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Ah, it's a good show.
That was
sad when something good when that
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways. What else is on my list here? Grow up. Okay.
It makes me nervous when you get all excited like that, because she's got this grin on her face.
And this one, since you had so many career aspirations, maybe this won't be a good question. But at 20 years old, what did you think your dream job would be? When you were 20 years old and thinking about what you were going to achieve in the next 20 years. What did you think was going to be that job that was going to make you happy, or whatever? Something where that's what I was thinking about. Because that's the thing. What you think you want to do when you're 5. I want to be a teacher, and then when I was deciding I didn't want to be a teacher at that point, what did I want to do that, what did I think was going to be my career? So that's because at different times in your life, things change.
It did. So, and it's funny that you should pick the age 20. Because when I was 20, I had decided that I didn't need to have a career, and that I was going to support my soon-to-be husband in his career, and I would stay home and raise our family.
Wow.
And maybe have a video store on the side. I would own a business of some kind, but I probably wouldn't be doing much with it. Wow. Right? It would just run itself. But I was going to be a stay-at-home mom.
And I wonder how many, like, now there probably wouldn't be as many 20-year-olds that would have those aspirations at 20.
Yeah,
right?
I think...
Because that was pretty young. Like, you'd be thinking about your family and getting married when you're that young.
Well, I wanted to have a business when I was a teenager. But then by the time I got to 20, I had finished high school. And my boyfriend at the time was going to be this big successful superstar once he finished university. So I was just working at the shoe store to wait until he was done. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to insert a spoiler alert.
See how that worked out. Yeah, we'll see. I worked at the shoe store then, and I remember thinking I'd love to buy into that franchise. So it was a franchise that I worked at, and I always thought like I'd want my own store. Isn't that funny? I could have been like selling shoes. But yeah,
still needed like the video store, but the shoes, like we all still wear shoes.
Yeah, the kids' shoe store. That's what I could have been doing. It was a Canadian company, Panda Shoes, and they had like stores all over the place, and I worked at them.
There wasn't one of them where I lived. We only had Kitty Cobbler.
Well, Kitty Cobbler was our competition.
Yeah, we had a Kitty Cobbler at the Midtown Mall, I believe. If my mom listens, she can fact check that. And I had to get shoes from Kitty Cobbler because I had wide feet, and so I had to wear. I remember finally when we put the 2 and 2 together that I had the wide feet and whatever. We had to go to Kitty Cobbler, and I had to get kangaroos.
Oh, I remember the kangaroo
Those
shoes.
weren't cool. They weren't cool.
They weren't cool.
They were, and I can picture my kangaroos. I'm pretty sure they were gray on gray. I think I can picture them if I close my eyes and what my kangaroo shoes look like. And everybody had like, you could have shoes that maybe had sparkles and rainbows on them, and I had gray on gray kangaroos because they were the reasonable shoes that my feet needed.
Aww.
And I didn't think it was cool that my shoes had a pocket because that's what they were. The kangaroos had like a little zipper in them.
You could put like $1 in it or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't think
like
that was cool.
Like if you had lunch, yeah. Well, they were cool for a time. The kangaroo, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a very odd question for 20 years old. That was probably right in the sweet spot of me deciding I'm going to be, I don't know.
Whatever.
Mary Poppins or whatever I was going to be.
You're going to be
yeah. It was
like
a few years after that I found out that was not going to happen.
Mrs. Cleaver.
Can you imagine me as a Mrs. Cleaver? It's funny when I look back now and I think, "Oh my gosh, can you imagine me?" It would not no. That was not to be. Carrie,
yeah.
What did you want when you were 20?
Like, I think at that time, because I guess I have been trying to think of it since I knew that I would have to answer the question too. I think that at that time, like, I really wanted to do, like, because I realized I like planning things. So I think I wanted to be some sort of a planner, like a wedding. Like, I thought about planning wedding, like being a wedding planner or being an event coordinator, planner. Like something like that. Like I really thought I wanted to do like coordinating events. Like that's what I thought I wanted to do, I think. Yeah.
You would have been very good. I could totally see you being a wedding planner.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, and that's the thing. Back then, wedding planners weren't what they are now, right? Like that's like there's a lot of the things that I wanted to do. Like what I wish was that like I would have understood other opportunities, right? Like about going into things in the arts, right? Like back then, yes. I really wanted to be like I really wanted to go to school to be an artist, like that. I've always wanted to have art in my life, right? But back then, like. When I was choosing university, I was probably still, or college, I was still a little behind what was to come in the not too far future. But like you went to school to like learn an art, like to learn pottery or to learn painting or, you know, like you think, and I thought, well, I don't want to be a starving artist. I don't want to struggle my whole life, right? Like I don't, like I really want to do that. Like every fiber of my being wants to be an artist, an artiste, an artful, you know, thinker and everything. But I was like, but I don't want to not be able to provide for myself and my cat family to come. So
you were practical, so you knew that.
So that's the thing. Yeah, I was definitely practical, where I knew that I wanted to make a decent living and have a wage that, in the end, allows me to go to Disney every 6 weeks. Right? Like, who would have thought? Like, thank heavens I learned about Disney, or else who knows what I would do with my money?
Yeah,
probably would have a Corvette right now.
Yeah, if you dial back some of the tricks, you'd have a Corvette.
But yeah, like I wish, like I would love now to be to be, you know, an artist with Disney or or something. Like I would like to be that type of artist where I create things, or even someone behind the scenes helping to make things like digitally. Like but I was a little bit behind. I was a little bit behind for that, and it's not something you could change your career when you get too older, right? So like I really feel like I wanted to go into the arts, and I think that's too probably like with the teacher thing. Even I went so long because I thought, well, I probably could be a teacher and have arts in my life that way, right? You know, maybe not right away. Maybe I'd have to work my way to get a certain type of job, or take more more school to learn more things so that I could do what I want to do. But I thought that might be the vehicle to get me to have an artistic career, which would also have brought us, like, you know, would have been a good career as well, right? So, but yeah, like I wish I could have done something, you know, like when I look at the jobs I could that exist now that are in the arts fields, like I just, you know, but I knew it just didn't exist back then. So
no,
but
well, we picked careers out of, like, you got a booklet in high school, and it had like 400 careers, and you flip through the pages looking for what are you going to be.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, now kids go to school and they have classes on careers, and they have classes that teach them they have classes that teach them just little tiny slivers of things, like, you know, marketing and design, and they teach them how to, like, they just teach them all kinds of stuff. They have classes on careers. They have classes that are really focused on one thing. Like, we took like shop that taught you everything to do with like home, like building something. And we had home ec, which taught you everything about cooking or sewing or whatever. And now kids can take like high school classes, like just on sewing. Like, wow. Like, imagine I would have had to go to school for 10 years to get actually the prerequisites. Cause I would have taken, like, if there's like 18 art courses now, I would have been in high school forever. Just because I wanted to take all of the art courses. So
it's fun to think back on those things, like the home ec courses where you learned how to sew and cooking and baking and all that stuff, and shop. I wasn't very, But like we took it once, like we took home ec once, we took shop once, maybe we might take it twice. And that was our life skills. Where now, like, it's amazing the stuff that high schools offer it's unbelievable. We had a whole course on typing.
I didn't take typing till I was in the higher grades in high school. And by the time I got to the typing class, I got to learn typing on a computer.
Oh, look at you.
I didn't. If I would have took it in grade 9, it would have been all typewriter, but I didn't take it till like grade 11, and we were on a computer.
Wow. Yeah, no, we didn't have computers in my day. We didn't have computers when I was in high school. I was on an old school typewriter. It might have been an electric typewriter. But yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, and I would,
I don't have too many more. I was gonna, this one, I should have asked it earlier when we were talking about retro things. Your favorite 80s sitcom that's not Golden Girls or Three's Company?
Why can't it be Three's Company?
Because we're both going to say Golden Girls and Three's Company. And we talk about Golden Girls and Three's Company all the time.
We do. You know what? I don't know where you can stream Three's Company. It really bugs me that I can't find it. That's what I was looking for the other night. I found this other streaming service, and that's how I ended up watching The Love Boat. Because I found The Love Boat, but no, it's Three's Company. 80s sitcom.
I love The Cosby Show. That was mine. I love The Cosby Show. I love Family Ties.
I love Family Ties. Growing Pains. Who's the Boss?
Oh, yeah.
I loved Who's the Boss. What about the Jeffersons? I loved the Jeffersons. They might have been the 70s.
They might have been. But did you? Well, that's the thing. Maybe.
And Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days.
So we just love them all. Did you have a favorite? Like, could you pick a favorite?
Yeah, Three's Company.
I know, it's funny. I love Three's Company.
What about you? What's your favorite?
I remember I loved watching the Cosby Show for sure. That was probably one of my favorites for sure. If I think about the one that I remember laughing and wanting to always watch all the time.
I liked the first few seasons of the Cosby Show.
Oh, I liked it when it turned into a different world though too. I watched that.
Oh, did you? Oh, I couldn't get into that one. The Facts of Life. George Clooney got his start. Facts of Life.
He did.
There you go.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Tootie.
Yeah.
Blair.
Natalie and Joe. And Mrs. Garrett.
There's a lot of, sometimes you see shows where like you just see like on Facebook they'll see Remember When, and if you ever see like a show that pops up and you totally forgot that it existed.
Yes.
Like there was one, and I can't even remember what it's called, but it popped up the other day, and it was a show about a rich man, like a millionaire or whatever. I think
Silver Spoons?
No, it wasn't Silver Spoons. I remember that.
That was a good one.
Alfonso Ribeiro came from there. Yeah. I think it was a show. It was only on for a little while, and it was like a bunch of girls, and I don't know if they were like adopted by this man, and I remember, so it was just a bunch of teenage girls and their shenanigans or whatever. And like the dad was like, whether he adopted them or whatever. Anyways, I totally forgot about it. But when I saw that thing flip up on my Facebook, I remembered instantly. I loved that show.
Oh, you're kidding.
I loved it. Like I probably loved it in the equivalent way that I loved Once Upon a Time, but back in whatever year it was. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to try to Google that and see what it was. But I remember totally thinking I was probably the same age as them. They're probably like 13-year-olds. I was probably 13 or whatever, and I thought it was the best show ever, and it wasn't on for very long. I'm gonna find it and I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
it just popped up the other day. But yeah, sometimes there's things that you come across and you love them so much, but it totally
you forgot about them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like Perfect Strangers. Do you remember that show?
Oh my gosh, I loved Perfect Strangers. Oh, they were so fun.
I really liked watching Mork and Mindy. That's another one that I liked watching, but I'm still gonna say the Cosby Show was probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
And Dukes of Hazzard too. That was another one. But
it's not really a sitcom, but the Dukes of Hazzard was fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a silly question.
80s shows or 80s sitcoms?
No, I said sitcoms.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, if it's an 80s show, then we got to talk about Dallas. Like,
no, only sitcoms, because that's the thing. Sitcoms don't even like. There's been times that where sitcoms really don't even exist. Like they really don't have sitcoms anymore. Like there's some, but not like there used to be. Like sitcoms were like it.
That was Isn't it funny? That's the difference between then and now. Then the majority of the shows were about making you laugh, and then you had a few cop shows and like Hunter. Remember Hunter? Oh my God, I loved Hunter. Hunter and Dee Dee McCall.
That's a show that I totally forgot about until you told me about it.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm like, I've watched it 100 times. I remember I probably watched
want to be Dee Dee McCall, and Hunter was going to be my husband. I was going to find a man like Hunter. Yeah, like when you think about it, there were a few cop shows, but it was always the bad guy gets caught, like Barney Miller, Night Court.
There's so many.
There's so many WKRP.
Yeah, and Carrie. Like now, like I think about what kind of sitcoms are there now. Like the only one that I can think off the top of my head is like Call Me Kat, the new one with Mayim Bialik, Big Bang, but that's over. Like how many? Like I don't know how many.
I don't watch TV anymore because of that. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there's nothing that makes me laugh. That's why I'm sitting, at night watching old episodes of The Love Boat.
Love Boat. Yeah, it's just not the same.
No.
But the 80s had oh my goodness.
So for And so now there's people that are listening who are our age that are like, oh my gosh, I remember all those shows. I got to go check my streaming service and see if any of them, and I'm going to watch some old ones. And then there's some young ones that are listening to us going.
They're not even listening at this point.
Yeah,
we probably lost them at favorite toy as a child because they're like, we don't even know what they're talking about.
They're like, what's a Care Bear and
what's a Chevette?
Oy, oy, oy.
Okay, last question because we're almost in that. We're on the cusp of hitting a 1 hour.
Are we?
Soon. By the time we wrap her up.
Carrie, we got to wrap her up. Take a break first, and then we'll come back for the final question.
It's not that good of a final question.
If you're a Disney fan, then you should listen to Carrie and Fran. They laugh and chat and help you make a plan. If you're going to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, and you will become a Pixie Dust fan.
Okay, we're back.
Oh boy. Okay.
The pressure is on, Carrie.
The pressure.
The final question.
This was just a silly. This is in my opinion the silliest one, but I thought I needed to ask it because we always talk about
now she makes
this
me
stuff.
Nervous. Okay.
What is your second again? Because I've done this to you already.
Second.
Not Golden Girls, not Three's Company. What is your second favorite dessert? Because we know your favorite dessert is cupcakes.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's no cupcakes don't exist.
Disney dessert or just general dessert?
General dessert.
You know what? You know what's funny? Carrie's rolling her eyes at me like, I can't believe she's asking me these questions to qualify it. But if you all remember, when I'm in charge of the podcast and I'm asking questions, Carrie has to ask 12 questions to qualify my question. How does it feel?
Your favorite Disney dessert? It doesn't matter as long as it's a dessert. What's your favorite dessert? Like if you had to pick the last dessert you were going to eat, but it couldn't be a cupcake. What would it be?
It would probably be. If I say cake, it's like a bigger slice of a cupcake.
Well, that's the thing is your favorite thing.
Cheesecake? Can I say cheesecake? Because I'm a late starter with cheesecake. I'm a late starter with cheesecake. I had never eaten cheesecake like my whole life because it didn't make sense to me. Why would you have a cake of cheese? Right? Like who puts there's cheese on toast and then there's cake. But why would you have a cake of cheese? Because in my brain,
cheese and lots of sugar and lots of other stuff, and it's.
But in my brain, I thought of it like cheddar cheese. Like who would put? So anyway,
I'd like some cheese.
I can't remember where I was, and I had cheesecake, and I didn't know it was cheesecake because I wouldn't have eaten it if I'd known it was cheesecake, and it was delicious. So now, that was a long way of saying I like cheesecake.
So that's your favorite. But
it's not cheese. It's not cheese. It's just a different kind of cake. So, yeah, cheesecake. Only certain cheesecakes.
My friend Terry makes the meanest cheesecake. She does a baked cheesecake, which is delicious, but she does a no-bake cheesecake, and it's...
What's a baked cheesecake versus a no-bake cheesecake? Don't they have to bake them? But cheesecake is cold.
Delicious.
It's not warm.
Anyways, I do like cheesecake, so maybe I would pick a Terry's cheesecake. But my most favorite dessert is birthday cake. I used to love ice cream. I used to love ice cream. I would eat ice cream, and if I ever get to a certain age, I survive to a certain age. I haven't determined what that is. If it's 75, 80, whatever, I'm eating ice cream 3 square.
Why aren't you eating ice cream now? It's milk.
It's not healthy. I don't want to.
It's milk. How is it not healthy?
Ice cream is not milk. Ice cream is full of all kinds of sugar and stuff, and stuff that's not good for you. Anyways,
it's even better when
ice
you
cream.
put chocolate
I used to love ice cream like nobody's business. I would eat it every single day. I love ice cream, but I love birthday cake, and I'm not talking chocolate cake. I'm not talking, whatever you want to call it.
White
I'm
cake?
talking a traditional cake with icing in the middle, with icing on top, maybe some sprinkles, maybe some flowers, whatever. A cake that is served at a birthday party. That is my most favorite dessert. I would crash a stranger's birthday party if I knew there was delicious cake. I would, if someone invited me to a birthday party, I'd be like, yeah, I'll drop by.
Are you talking like the grocery store, like the slab cake where they put like the roses on top?
As long as it's a good one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those are
love
good.
Birthday cake.
Now my mouth's watering. I
like
those
want,
too.
Like there could be fancy, like all kinds of fancy desserts, and if there was a birthday cake, I would pick the birthday cake.
You would pick that.
But yeah, I wanted to know because, you know, you love cupcakes so much, like cupcakes. I wanted to know what your next second best one was. Like, were you going to tell me like a date square or like a chocolate eclair or
I do like a good eclair,
a macaroon. Like I wasn't sure what your second one was going to be. Like, is there a dessert from your childhood that you loved?
Well,
like,
it's funny you should say that. I had to, because of the traffic and construction on my way to work these days, I have had to take different routes. And I was taking this route the other day, and I drive by basically where I grew up, my high school, and then my middle school. So I was driving by my middle school, and it was like, boom, I remember. There was a store that was a block away from my middle school, and every single day at lunch, I would walk down the block to this store, and they had a window full display of cupcakes. And I would get and they were filled. They were cream filled. So it was like an eclair and a cupcake met and married.
That sounds
And it
lovely.
was a beautiful cake with icing, like with filling inside, like cream filling inside, and then a big thick rose on top of icing. And every day I got it and I wondered why I had such bad acne. But that's what I got every day when I went to middle school. And it just dawned on me when I was driving to work the other day.
That's
when I
awesome.
drove by. Yep.
It's kind of like it triggered that memory.
It was like, wow, maybe that's where my cupcake love came from.
Well, it is where your cupcake love came from. And that sounds delicious. And I can't believe that you eat those Disney cupcakes when you grew up eating those. That wonderful, delicious.
Filling. It was the filling. And I would give anything to have one of those cupcakes right now. They were so good because they had all that cream inside. Now, when you go and get like the eclair or the cream-filled cupcakes, it's like a custard in them. Like, it's like a bait and switch. That's why I don't order those donuts, because I've had it before.
Fluff on the inside.
I want fluff. I want white cream inside. And sometimes they psych you out, and you come home, you take a big bite, and you got custard in your mouth. Who wants custard in a donut?
Well, when there can be fluff in it, nobody really. I agree. I don't think that in Canada or in this part of Canada where we live, they don't have a lot of donuts filled with fluff. When you're in the US and you go to Krispy Kreme,
you were the one that took me to Krispy Kreme on the way, and you were like, "Oh, I'm going to get the ones," and I'm thinking, I don't want to try them because I don't want no custard. And then you bit into it, and it was like, ta-da!
I know, because when I order them, I'm like, "Does that one have the fluff inside?" I was at the airport when I was at the airport the last time. I call it fluff. When I was at the airport, the Orlando airport, I always go to the Dunkin' Donut there, and I always get mad because I always have this idea that the American Dunkin' Donuts are going to be far superior than the donuts I'm used to. I'm always sadly disappointed. But when I was there the last time, like I said to the lady, that donut there got fluff in it? And she's like, no, custard. I'm like, don't want it. I'll take an apple fritter, please.
It's so terrible. Like, why put custard in a donut? I think
custard is fine in a donut, like a Boston cream donut is fine. But I think once you taste fluff in that, once you have the fluff-filled donuts, then I don't want custard in it if I can get a fluff.
Yeah, for sure.
Fluffy one.
For sure.
So that's it. So you'd like cheesecake, which would be the weirdest thing. I thought you would come up with some Scottish dessert or something for that you remembered eating when you were a child or whatever. But the cupcake story about middle school, that explains a lot. Like that really is the reason why we have this getting to know you thing, because that's what we really needed to know where that cupcake obsession came from.
It did. From that, and my sister used to bake cupcakes for the neighborhood kids. Like, it would be like if we were all hanging out in the backyards or something, and then it would be, Jean would make us either cupcakes or like the Rice Krispie squares or something like that. Cupcakes, they're always good. Always good. That was fun, Carrie. I don't know if anybody's still listening, but you and I had fun.
We did.
Getting to know you.
Yep. It was overdue for a check-in.
It was. To see, even just to talk about things that we never talked about before. The cars are fun too. Yeah. It's funny how you just see, like, you're pretty set. Like, you knew what you wanted to, like, you were teacher plan for years. Like, everything. I was all over the place. You seem pretty steady.
Some may call it boring.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, no, because you came up with names for your cars.
Yeah, that I did.
Right?
You know,
very smart.
Some may say simple.
Why do you say that? Oh, gosh. That's not what I was saying.
What's running through her head that she's thinking that I'm going to call my car Mario Shabadi?
I love it. That's because you're creative. I would never think to name my car. Like, even right now, if you said to me, pick a name for your car, I'd probably sit here for half an hour racking my brain. And then I'd come up with something stupid.
Well, your next car, I think you should name it. I think when you get your next car, you just think about the excitement you have over getting a new car and how you're connected to it. And poof, a name will
connected to it?
Yeah.
I'm not connected to the only car I've ever been connected to was my brother-in-law's old car. I felt very connected to that car, and I bawled my eyes out when we had to get rid of it. But
it didn't have a name, eh?
It was it was like a boat. Well, my dad would call it the boat because it was a massive car. Like, it was a Pontiac Parisienne. It was huge.
Oh my goodness.
Like, you could put 12 bodies in that trunk if you wanted.
Nice. Be good for cross-border shopping nowadays.
Oh, yeah. It was huge. But, yeah.
Probably take a lot of gas to get where you needed to go nowadays. But
well, anyways, yeah.
So then I can ask you, Francine, what's your pixie dust for this week?
Oh, look at Carrie. She's on top of it. I love it when you take control of the podcast. My pixie dust for the week. My pixie dust for the week, and I think I said this last year was my pixie dust, and this year I'm saying the same thing. It is the people that I pay to shovel my driveway.
It just snowed.
It snowed. We got a big dumping of snow, and I just wait long enough, and they show up and they snuggle. They shovel my driveway. So, yes, I'm very happy. What's your pixie dust?
Well, I wanted to use when we were on Stan's show, I wanted to reuse that pixie dust on this show, the pixie dust that I got an email from Terry Harden, because I'm one of her Patreons, and she sent around some Muppets. Disney
legend Terry Harden.
Yeah, yes, I'm a Patreon of hers, and so she messages her Patreon. She does private Zoom calls with them or whatever, but she sent some artwork around, and they were Muppets. Like, she had drawn Muppets, and it's got her little signature on them, and she drew them. And she said, print them on cardstock, cut them out, make bookmarks, do whatever you want with them. And I thought that was kind of cool. That was a neat little surprise because I didn't expect it.
It is.
And it was like, wow, Terry Harden emailed me and said, hey, Carrie. And then I messaged her back and said how I love them. And she replied back and said, that's awesome. And I was like, ooh, a back and forth with Terry on the email. But anyways, that was my when we were on Stan's show, and he did the little switcheroony and asked us what a pixie dust was on his show.
Yeah, we weren't prepared on his show for pixie dust.
That was pretty cool because it was just a surprise. Like I got the email, but I hadn't opened it yet, and I was just one morning when I was getting ready for work, I opened it and I was like, oh my goodness, who would have thought that would be there? So yeah, that's my pixie dust.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool, Carrie. Well, thank you for coming up with this idea for this episode and the questions and taking control of the podcast. I like it. You need to do it more often. I'm just going to say it. You are very creative in coming up with these questions. I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everyone listening.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you're still listening.
Carrie, take it away.
If you're not, then we don't blame you.
Bye-bye.
I feel like, and then I'm like, oh, I never do this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. No, that's what my YouTube people say. No, this isn't YouTube. This is
not YouTube.
You're just supposed to rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, and then we say bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast player so you'll get a new episode every week. And find us on social media too. We'd love to hear from you.
Till next time, remember, you are never too old to be young. Chase your dreams and design your own happily ever after.